Thank you. It's a true honor to be here today, especially in Maine, and this event. It means a lot to me to be part of this. Thank you all for coming. My talk begins with a very simple question. How do people go about finding purpose in their lives? It's an age-old question, really, if you stop and think about it. People have been asking it for a long time, and probably for good reason. The purpose that we choose to have affects so many things in our life. It affects our occupation, it affects our outlook, it affects our vitality, it affects the way we interact with people as well as the world. So what is purpose? For me, a key component of purpose is best defined by the University of Chicago's Mikhail Csikszentmihalyi. And he calls it flow. And flow is a state where time dissolves. There's no past, there's no future, there's just the moment that you're in. And flow is achieved, he believes, through doing what you're optimally charged to be doing, to be engrossed completely in the work that you're doing. I'm lucky. I found purpose early on in life. I found my purpose through photography. In high school, I fell in love with it. And I would go into the darkroom, and 8 hours would disappear in 8 seconds, engrossed completely in what I was doing. It also changed the way that I saw the world. All of a sudden, I was noticing things around me that I'd never noticed before. I'd noticed the way light would come through a window pane and travel across a wall over time, or I'd noticed simple things like the way water would ripple across a still pond. I tasted flow for the first time through photography, through having this purpose, and I loved it. And since then, I've thought quite a bit about it, because I want to be there more often. I want to be in that state of flow. I want to have a greater sense of purpose. I've been lucky enough for the past 8 years to travel around the world on a variety of different assignments for National Geographic. And along the way, I've met an extraordinary cross-section of people, rich people, poor people, famous, not famous, geographically diverse. And I've thought about what's attracted me to certain people. And I've realized that one of the things that's attracted me to the people that I've photographed over the years is that they have a tremendous purpose in their lives. All different kinds of purpose, but they all share this common bond of having a purpose. And because of that, they're in this state of flow. And purpose is contagious. When you're around people who have a sense of purpose, this is the perfect event for that. Everyone here has a sense of purpose. It's contagious. You want to be like them. You want to be around them. So I want to share some of the stories of these people that I've met in the hopes that they can give us each pause to stop and think about our own purpose in life, our own intention in life, and in doing so, hopefully live a life with greater purpose. First person I'm going to introduce you to is Ellsworth Wareham. He's 91 years old when I met him. He's, I think, 96 now, going strong. He's a surgeon. He's been a surgeon his entire life, lives on a beautiful hill in Loma Linda, California, overlooking a valley. Tons of money. He's been a surgeon his whole life, right? So what was he doing digging holes in his backyard when I showed up to meet him for the first time? Well, he was building this giant fence all by himself at 91, which kind of surprised me. And over a glass of iced tea, I asked him, Ellsworth, what are you doing building this fence? Shouldn't you be like on the golf club or on the golf course with your friends at the country club? And no, he said. He said, you know, a long time ago, I realized that I should never outsource manual labor. Because in outsourcing manual labor, I was depriving myself. I was depriving myself of two things: the chance to exercise my body in a meaningful way, and also the chance to have the satisfaction of a job well done. Now, I thought this was pretty cool coming from a 91-year-old, but then we got in the car and we went to the hospital. That's Ellsworth on the left there, performing open heart surgery at 91. After digging holes in his backyard all morning. Which I'd never really, it rocked my world. I'd never really seen anyone with that kind of range of work. And I stopped and I thought about it and I talked to him about it. And what he said was that he made no distinction between work that was important or work that was unimportant to him. And that the work that he performed, whether it be to hold the artery of a beating heart or to install a fence in his backyard, was equally important. And he found meaning in both of those things. So this is a guy, to me, who has a tremendous sense of purpose. Down the road from Ellsworth lived another woman, Marge Jatan, who's remarkable. She's 101 years old in this picture. And when I met up with her, she was in the basement of her retirement home pumping iron. And I don't mean like for show. She was pumping iron below this magnificent pictures of lions on the open range, which I just got a kick out of. So after she pumps iron, she rides her bike for 3.5 miles in the basement. And then she gets up and she walks the halls of her retirement home for another mile. This is just the start of her day, though. You see, she's doing this not just so she can stay healthy. She's a Seventh-day Adventist, so she's never drank, smoked, or eaten meat her entire life. Her body is her temple, and she takes care of it. But she doesn't take care of it just so that she can live forever. She takes care of it so that she can help other people. We're in the seat of her 87 Cadillac doing like 90 miles an hour down the San Bernardino Expressway. And you want to talk about flow? She's so engrossed in telling me about what she's going to go do for the day that I swear I thought we were going to die because we were going to crash. So what was Marge going to do? She was going to help the elderly by delivering books and magazines to the poor shut-ins who couldn't get out. So this is Marge at 101, right? So we're cruising around helping the elderly with a 101-year-old, and we had to stop for gas because she was driving so fast, we were just burning through the fuel. And as a gentleman, I said, "Oh, Marge, let me go help you pump your gas, please." I thought she was going to reach over and hit me with her purse. She said, "Don't you dare help me. I can pump my own gas, thank you. What do you think? I'm a little old lady?" And so what was so interesting about this to me is that she had this rugged independence, right? But this rugged independence wasn't based in herself. This rugged independence was an enabler for her to help other people. In helping others, she helped herself. Marge has tapped into a sense of purpose that every volunteer, everyone who's ever volunteered, is intimately aware of. The act alone of helping others can be tremendous. So we're going to travel to a completely different part of the world. We're going to go to Singapore. And this is Lee Kuan Yew. And Lee Kuan Yew, about 50 years ago, had a tiny little chunk of land. It's like 28 miles, 28 square miles, and it was a swamp, and it was a dirt-poor fishing village. And it wasn't even a country at this point. And Lee Kuan Yew had a vision, and he had a purpose, and his purpose in life was to execute this vision over time, over an entire lifetime, actually. And what was that vision? It was to create a country from scratch. That country is now known as Singapore. And this man, through his singular vision, took that swamp and built one of the greatest economies in the world today. And he did that over time with this tremendous sense of vision. Now, Singapore is a really different place. It's very un-American in many ways. And one of the things that we know about Singapore as Americans is that it's illegal to chew gum there. You can also get caned. There was an American kid who got caned there for graffitiing a bunch of cars a while ago. So it's a strict place. You can't chew gum. What could be more un-American, right? So my first question, the first kind of thought leader I met in Singapore was, wow, what is it like to live in a place with so little freedom? This woman turned to me and she said, well, I don't know. What's it like to live in a place where women can't walk down the street at night in some cities without fear for their safety? Or where you can't leave your kids in the front lawn without fear they might get abducted? I don't know. What's it like? Well, I'm an American. You just can't go insulting my freedom like that, you know? So, but she kind of turned it around on me in a way that gave me pause to consider, wow, these are trade-offs that people make, right? And Lee Kuan Yew understood those trade-offs. And he played off those trade-offs to build a society that maybe has less freedoms in some regards, but more freedoms in other regards. Highest rate of homeownership on earth would be one of them. People there are enjoying these incredible benefits. And what Lee Kuan Yew did
regardless of what you think of his politics, is he took this vision and this purpose in life to create a society, and he executed on it. Whether or not you agree with those politics are irrelevant. Whether or not you would want to live in Singapore or even visit Singapore is irrelevant. But Lee Kuan Yew is an example of someone with the ultimate big picture purpose. I don't know anyone else who would surpass him in that. Now, Singapore's hot. It's so hot that they go to the beach in the dark because it's too hot. So these are people hanging out at the beach in nighttime. There's 2 seasons in Singapore, hot and hotter. We're going to go to a place where there's also 2 seasons. It's Greenland. We're going to meet a guy that I spent a lot of time with named Mamrut. And Greenland has 2 seasons, cold and colder. Now, if Lee Kuan Yew represented someone with a grand purpose, complex set of ambitions, Mamrut is the exact opposite. See, he's one of the last great ice hunters anywhere on Earth. And he has this kind of Stone Age skill set that not many people have anymore. And I spent 5 weeks with Mamrut out on the ice, and his purpose is so simple. Find food, seek shelter with great skill and intention, or die. Guaranteed, die if you do that wrong out there. So Mamrut had this very, very simple set of, this very simple purpose. And it allowed him to achieve this sense of flow, which I've never seen anything like it before. We would travel across the ice, and he would be able to read the ice and use that reading to find us food and shelter. And I watched him one day stand above the breathing hole of a walrus. Walrus are mammals, so they live under the ice, but they need to breathe, and they have holes all over. So to hunt a walrus, you need to pick the right hole and then stand there like this with your harpoon for 5 hours or 10 hours or however long it takes. Now, granted, it's 40 below zero as you're doing this. So I watched Mamrut stand for 5 hours above the breathing hole of a walrus with this harpoon. And when the moment came, he struck and took this walrus down with only his bare hands. Now, there's probably 100 people on Earth who have the skill set necessary to do this, Mamrut being one of them. And it was an incredible sight to behold, someone with that much focus and intention. It's freezing there, so people wear these polar bear pants, which are the warmest things in the world. I love my polar bear pants so much that I said to Mamrut, I just want a polar bear outfit. I want a polar bear top, bottoms, everything. Can you get me that? And he's like, no. We only use Arctic fox for anoraks. We only use seal skin for boots. Polar bear is only meant for pants. I'm like, that's crazy. It must be good for an anorak. And he said, no. Long ago, my ancestors realized that it was a terrible idea to make anything except pants from polar bear. And that's all I need to know. I don't question it. I thought, isn't that cute? That's so sentimental. You know, it's easy to be sentimental if you're out here. But then I saw him flip over his sled, and the bottom of his sled had these modern plastic runners on them. And I said to Mamrut, I'm like, well, why are you using plastic on your sled? You know, you should use something more traditional. And he says, no, the traditional stuff stinks. We used to have to freeze Arctic char on the bottom of our sled runners, and we'd use frozen Arctic char. And it was just a pain because they'd clump up with snow. Plastic works way better. It's like the only good thing about the Arctic char, he says, this is true, he said, is if you run out of food, you could eat your sled runners. So it was kind of like an emergency cache of food. So I was glad I didn't experience that. But so where am I going with this? Well, here's this guy who's not afraid to adapt new technology, but not afraid to hold on to own technology. He just wants what's going to work. The reason he wants what's going to work is because his purpose is so crystal clear. In simplifying and having a crystal clear purpose, your choices become much easier. Mamrut's purpose was to stay alive. His choice, pick the right tool to do that, agnostic about whether that's an old tool or a new tool. In seeing that, it made me realize how often we overcomplexify the choices that we make. And I think the clearer our purpose is, the simpler the choices that we need to make are, and the more obvious those choices become. Ikigai. is a Japanese word that I think best defines purpose. It's a much more sophisticated definition of purpose than I think we have. And it means it's the reason that we wake up in the morning. So these Japanese centenarians there, you cannot meet one who doesn't have Ikigai. And their Ikigai comes in all kinds of forms and sizes. This woman's Ikigai was waking up to hold her great-great-grandchild. She's 101. This man's Ikigai was to continue to practice karate even at age 100. This woman's Ikigai was growing carrots in her garden, growing food in her garden. This man's Ikigai was to catch 10 minutes of rays every day in his backyard. That was his reason to get up in the morning. He's 105, by the way. This is my favorite. This man's Ikigai, reason to wake up in the morning, was to laugh at the sun rising out of the ocean and then stand on his head for 20 minutes. These women have known each other since kindergarten. The one in the middle is 100 years old. They have a moi. It's a group of people who form a social network that stay together throughout their entire lifetime. And this man was my personal favorite Ikigai. He was a priest, and he is 98 in this picture, and his Ikigai was sex. I kid you not. So, these are all these different people. Ikigai to me is the most beautiful thing because it shows that it doesn't matter what your purpose is. You can be Lee Kuan Yew and want to remake the entire world in your image, or you can want to stand on your head every morning. You can want to help others. All of these people have these tremendously different senses of purpose. But they all have that purpose, and because they have that purpose, they inhabit a state of flow more regularly. Flow is contagious. Purpose is contagious. I hope that we can think about the people that we met today and the idea of purpose and use it to reflect on what our own purpose might be, what our own intention might be. And in doing that, have a greater sense and change, hopefully, the world one person at a time. Thank you very much.